It is a Saturday morning in late June. You walk out onto the back porch with a cup of coffee in your hand, and the sun is not even fully up over the tree line yet. And there, 3 feet from the bottom porch step, coiled in the cool shade of a clay flower pot, is a copperhead. You know it the moment you see it. The brown hourglass bands across the back, the wide triangle head, the body thick in the middle and still as a stone. It is not moving. It does not have to move. And then your stomach drops, because you remember that in about 3 minutes, your 6-year-old grandson was going to come out that very same door to play in the grass while you drank your coffee and watched him. He was going to run right past that flower pot in his bare feet. You back away slow. You do not reach for it. You do not grab a hoe. You go inside. You keep the boy inside, and you call animal control. A man comes out, and $450 later the snake is gone and you can breathe again. And the relief is real. It lasts about a week, and then one morning you are out by that same flower pot, and there is another one. Smaller, but the same kind. The same hourglass. The same triangle head. And that is the moment the whole thing changes for you, because now you understand something you did not understand before. Where there is one copperhead, there is food and there is cover, and there is more than one snake. The question was never, how do I get this one snake out of my yard? The question is, how do I keep the snakes from wanting to come here in the first place? Now, I want to say something to you plain before we go one step further. That fear you felt standing on that porch, that is not your failing. You did not do anything wrong. You did not leave a door open. You did not invite it. The truth is kinder and simpler than that. Nobody ever sat you down and taught you what brings a snake to a yard, and so there was no way under heaven you could have known how to keep it away. You were never taught. That is all it is. Now I want you to sit with this. I have to be straight with you, because most of what folks think they know about keeping snakes away does not work. And the worst part is that the things that do not work are the things somebody is happy to sell you over and over again. Mothballs scattered around the yard are banned for outdoor use by federal law. They are a registered pesticide and the label does not allow it, and they do nothing to a snake anyhow. And the children and the dog can get into them. Those little ultrasonic snake repellers you buy at the hardware store, the ones you stake into the ground with the blinking light on top, there is no good evidence they do a single thing. A snake has no outer ear. It feels the ground, not the air. And that buzzing means nothing to it. And the bottles of granules with a coiled snake on the label that the garden center stacks by the door every spring, they cannot show you one honest study that they keep snakes away. And I am not making that up out of my own head. That is plain on the record from the National Pesticide Information Center, from Utah State University Extension, from Illinois Extension, and from the Internet Center for Wildlife Damage Management. Real government and university people in writing saying most snake repellent products are wasted money, but there are things that do work, plain things. Things that every major university extension office in this country will back up. And almost every one of them is the same thing Pennsylvania Dutch farm families have done to keep their farmsteads snake managed for over 200 years. No chemicals, no $15 bottle of granules, no service call that has to come back next month. Just careful attention to what is bringing those snakes onto your land in the first place, and then taking it away. My name is Moshe Reel. I am Amish, and I farm here in Elkhart County, Indiana. And I am going to be honest with you the way I always am, because honesty is the only thing that makes a video like this one worth your time. We have got both kinds of snakes here. We have got the harmless ones we are glad to have working the barn and the garden, and we have got the venomous ones we want to keep good and far from the porch where the little ones play. My grandfather taught me, and his grandfather taught him, and the same careful habits that kept the snakes off our family ground when the first reels came over from the old country work just as well today on your half-acre lot in town. Today, I am going to walk you through all 10 of them. 7 that change the yard so the snake does not even want to come. One real barrier for the one spot, you cannot tolerate even a single snake. One folk method that I will scope honest for you, the good and the limit of it, and the natural ally that has kept the rats and the snakes down on plain farms since the first families stepped off the boat. By the end of this, you will know exactly why the snakes are coming and exactly what to do about it. Stay with me, because the part most folks get wrong comes right in the middle, and it is the part that fixes everything. One quick word before I go further, and then I will not bring it up again. There is more of this than fits in any one video. All the old methods my family uses, the whole of it, I gathered into a book over at moseriel.com. The book is the long version. If you want it, it is there. If you do not, that is fine too. You will get the whole of today's method right here for free. I will not mention it again. Now let me tell you what is really going on, because once you see the plain sense of it, everything after makes plain sense. Here is the honest truth about why a snake comes into a yard. A snake does not wander into your yard by accident. A snake is not out for a stroll admiring your flower beds. A snake comes onto your property because your property is giving it three things it needs to stay alive: food, cover, and warm places to lie in the sun. Take those three things away, and the snake leaves on its own and goes looking somewhere else. You do not have to chase it. You do not have to kill it. You make the place unwelcoming, and it goes. Now the food. The food is rodents. Mice, rats, voles, chipmunks, ground squirrels. A snake follows a rodent the way a hungry man follows the smell of his supper through the kitchen door. If you have a rodent problem on your land, then you have a snake problem coming, whether you have seen it yet or not. This is the single most important thing I can tell you in this whole video. So let me say it slow and let me say it twice. No food source, no snakes. Where there is one copperhead, there is food, and that food is mice and rats living somewhere close. The snake by your flower pot is not the problem. The snake is the symptom. The mice are the problem. And the cover? The cover is every hiding place on your property. Tall grass, brush piles, a stack of old lumber, overgrown shrubs hanging to the ground, a wood pile, old equipment left to rust in the weeds, a gap under the porch or the shed. A snake is a soft thing in a hard world. It has got hawks above it, owls at dusk, foxes, and the neighbor's barn cat, all wanting to make a meal of it. Without cover, that snake is out in the open and exposed, and an exposed snake does not stay. It moves on to where it can hide. Take away the cover near your house, and you take away the snake's confidence to be there. And the third thing, the warm places. A snake is cold-blooded. It cannot make its own heat the way you and I do. It has to borrow heat from the world around it, from the sun, just to move and hunt and digest. So it looks for basking spots, a concrete walkway that holds the heat, a flat rock by the foundation, a rock wall, a sun-warmed sheet of metal on a shed, a low porch step that has soaked up the afternoon. Every warm basking spot near the house is an invitation for the snake to spend its day right where your family walks. Now, every single one of the 10 methods I am about to give you takes away one of those three things: the food, the cover, or the warmth. The science is plain. The methods are old, and they work. So here is the first group, and this is the foundation. 7 methods, all of them habitat modification, all of them the strong stuff, the verified stuff that the extension offices recommend. Each one alone helps a little. All 7 together turn your yard into a place a snake simply does not want to be. I will tell it slow. Method 1. Keep your grass cut below 3 inches and keep it there. Tall grass is a snake highway. It hides the snake from the hawk above. It keeps the ground cool down at the roots where the snake likes it. And it brings in the bugs and the little rodents the snake is hunting. Short grass takes away all 3 at once. A yard mowed down to 2.5, 3 inches makes a snake feel naked and exposed, and an exposed snake moves on. The honest number folks have found is 3 inches maximum. Below that, snake activity in the yard drops off sharp. Above that, especially in the wet growing weeks of summer when the grass jumps, the yard becomes a friendly place to a snake again within just a few days. So cut it weekly through the growing season. And here is the part most folks get wrong on this one. They mow the open lawn nice and short, and they forget the strips along the fence lines, along the foundation, along the edge of the garden. Those uncut strips become the snake corridors, the little green roads that connect one part of your yard to another. Cut the edges too. Cut right up to the fence. Method 2. Remove every piece of clutter and debris from your yard. Old lumber stacked by the barn. A pile of fieldstone you meant to use someday. A brush pile from when you trimmed the trees. Fallen branches. A heap of leaves raked up last fall and never carried off. The old lawnmower sitting behind the shed. A rusty barrel. A stack of bricks. Every one of those is what we call harborage. It is a snake's house. The snake nests there, suns itself there, hunts there, and breeds there. Now hear this number, because it is a big one. A yard that has been cleared of its debris piles loses 70 to 90% of its snake population within a single season. That is documented by more than one state extension office. So walk your whole yard with a hard eye. Anything that has been sitting flat on the ground more than 2 weeks is potential snake harborage. The lumber pile goes to the burn pile, or it goes up onto sawhorses off the ground. The old equipment gets moved, sold, or scrapped. And I will say a hard word about firewood, because firewood stacked tight against the side of the house is just about the worst snake invitation there is. Move your wood pile at least 20 feet from the house. Get it up on a raised rack with the bottom row up off the dirt, and you have closed one of the biggest doors there is. Method 3. Seal every entry point into your buildings. A snake can squeeze itself through a gap as small as a 1/4 inch. Think on that, a 1/4 inch. The National Pesticide Information Center comes right out and says seal any gap larger than a 1/4 inch on the outside of your home. Now here are the entry points most folks never think to check. The bottom of the garage door where the rubber seal is worn thin, put in a heavy threshold seal. The dryer vent where it comes out the wall. Put on a vent cover with mesh or a flap that closes. The little drain line from the air conditioner. Wrap it where it leaves the house. Gaps in the foundation. Fill them with steel wool first. Then spray expanding foam over top to hold it and weatherproof it. Crawl space vents. Door sweeps that have torn or squashed flat. Holes in the window screens. And here is the secret most folks do not know. Galvanized steel wool. A snake physically cannot push through steel wool the way it can shove through plastic or fabric or old caulk. You stuff the steel wool into the gap, you foam over it, and that gap is closed for good. That is the standard way a building gets snake-proofed, and it costs a few dollars. Method 4. Get rid of the rodents. And here is the part most folks get wrong about this whole subject, so I am going to slow all the way down. Everybody wants to chase the snake. They want to find the snake, trap the snake, kill the snake, pay a man to haul the snake away. And the snake comes back, because they never touched the reason the snake was there. The snake was there for the mice. So you do not chase the snake, you take away its supper. If you have mice in the garage, voles in the garden, chipmunks under the deck, or rats in the barn, you are going to have snakes hunting them. You cannot have a snake-free yard while you have a rodent problem. It is not possible. So the rodent control that works. Snap traps set along the walls, not out in the open, because a rodent travels with its body against a wall, not across the middle of the floor. The baking soda and flour and sugar baits set in tamper-proof containers, the same gas buildup method I walked through in the earlier video, and cutting off the rodent's own food. Secure the trash. No bird seed left on the ground. No pet food bowl left outside. No fruit left to rot under the tree. Work the rodent population down over 2 to 4 weeks. And here is the plain cause and effect. When the rodents drop, the snakes drop right along with them. Direct and immediate. Fix the mice, and the snake by the flower pot has no reason left to come. Method 5. Secure your trash cans and never, ever leave pet food outside overnight. Open trash and a bowl of dog food on the porch are the two strongest rodent magnets on most every property in America. So here are the rules plain. Every outdoor trash can needs a tight lid. If a raccoon can pop the lid, so can a rat get in. Use a bungee cord over the top if you have to. The pet food bowl comes inside at night, every night. Even a cat or a dog that eats outside should have that food picked up within 30 minutes. The compost pile needs to be enclosed because an open compost heap is a buffet line for rodents. Use a sealed tumbler or build a wooden bin with a lid, and the spilled bird seed under the feeder needs to be cleaned up regular. Every rodent magnet you take away is a snake magnet you take away. It is all the same chain. Method 6. Prune your shrubs and bushes up off the ground, 12 inches up at the bottom and 24 inches back from the house wall. A low shrub branch hanging to the dirt does two bad things. First, it gives cover right down at ground level, which is exactly where the snake wants to live. Second, and folks miss this one, it makes a climbing bridge. Because a snake can climb, it will climb up a shrub, cross over onto rough siding, and find its way clean up to an attic vent or an open upstairs window. Pruning takes away the ground cover and the climbing bridge both. So, the rules. Prune the bottom of every shrub at least 12 inches off the ground so you can see clean underneath it. Keep the body of every shrub at least 24 inches back from the house wall so there is a clear inspection strip you can walk and look down. And trim back any tree branch that hangs over the roof or comes within 6 feet of the house, because that is how a snake gets aerial access up high. This is one Saturday's worth of work with a pair of loppers, and it changes the snake exposure of your whole place. Method 7. Bird feeders need to be 30 feet from the house, and they need a catch tray under them. Now, I love a bird feeder. Esther loves to watch the birds come of a winter morning, but I have to tell you plain, a bird feeder is one of the strongest snake attractants you can hang on your property. And the reason is a simple chain. The feeder brings the birds. The birds drop seed on the ground. The dropped seed brings the rodents. The rodents bring the snakes. And a snake will take a bird right off the ground or a nest right out of the bush, too. So the rules. Get the feeder at least 30 feet from the house, and at least 30 feet from where you sit, from the grill, from the children's play spot. Put a catch tray under it to gather the dropped seed before it ever hits the dirt. Clean up the spilled seed weekly. And if you have a serious snake problem, take the feeders down entirely through the peak snake months, late spring through early fall. This one change has solved more mystery snake by the porch problems than any other single thing. Now the second group, physical barriers. One method, and it is verified. Method 8, a real snake-proof fence built with 1/4-inch hardware cloth. If you have got one particular spot you want to make truly snake-free, a children's play area, a chicken coop, the vegetable garden, a patio where the family sits, then a properly built snake fence is the only thing that genuinely keeps a snake out. Here is the honest design. Use 1/4-inch hardware cloth, the galvanized steel mesh. Not plastic, it rots and a snake chews it. Not chicken wire, the holes are too big and a young snake goes right through. Not window screen, it is too flimsy. The mesh gets buried 10 to 12 inches down into the soil along the base of the fence because a snake will tunnel under a shallow one. It stands at least 30 inches above ground. And the top edge gets bent outward at an angle, away from the spot you are protecting, so that when a snake tries to climb it, it tips backward and falls off. No gaps at the corners, no gaps at the gate. No gap where the fence meets a building. Every junction sealed tight. The mesh runs about $3 to $5 a linear foot, and for a 50 by 50 enclosure, you are looking at somewhere around $400 to $1,000 in materials, plus your labor. Now set that against $450 for one snake removal call that does not last. That fence pays for itself by about the second emergency call you would otherwise have had to make. But mind this. The fence is for one specific zone you cannot tolerate a single snake in. It is not for the whole yard. The whole yard you handle with the 7 habitat methods. The fence is for the one sacred spot. Before I walk through the folk recipes and the natural ally, let me pause for just a moment. If your home is costing you more than it ought to, in money or in worry, you do not have to figure all of it out alone. Esther and I run an Amish home saving system and community, and folks in there ask us questions whenever they get stuck, and the members share what is actually working in their own homes and on their own land. The link is in the description if you want to come sit at the table with us. Now, the honest scope on the folk repellents, then the natural ally, and then the safety word plainly, because that part matters most of all. Group 3, the folk repellent recipes. 1 method, honestly scoped. Method 9, the cayenne, the garlic, the sulfur, the clove, and cinnamon. And I have to be straight with you about these before I even tell you how to mix them. The research on snake repellents is mixed, and that is the honest word. The Internet Center for Wildlife Damage Management, which is a serious academic source, says plainly that several repellents for snakes have been promoted, but none have extensive research showing they work in the real world. The Illinois Extension says simply that repellents like mothballs or sprays do not work. Now, folks who have used these old recipes will tell you they have seen results, and I believe they are telling me the truth as they saw it. The scientists are skeptical. And I think the truth sits somewhere in the middle. These recipes may help a little as one more layer on top of the habitat work. They will not work on their own if you have left the rodents and the brush piles alone. With that said plain, here are the recipes folks have used. Pick the one with the ingredients already in your pantry. Recipe A, the cayenne and dish soap spray. Boil a gallon of water with 2 tablespoons of cayenne pepper powder until it dissolves. Let it cool. Add a tablespoon or 2 of liquid Castile soap or plain dish soap and spray it in a band about 12 inches wide around the area you want to protect. Recipe B, a dry powder of cayenne, garlic, onion, and sulfur. Equal parts mixed dry, laid down in a 12 to 24 inch band. And wear a dust mask and eye protection mixing that one, because it is hard on the lungs and the eyes. Recipe C, clove and cinnamon oil. A tablespoon of each in warm water, sprayed as a 12-inch perimeter band. Recipe D, a store-bought garlic oil mosquito barrier, a 1/4 cup in a gallon of water, sprayed as a band, the same garlic oil that works on the mosquitoes. All 4 of them must be put down again after a rain, because the strong smell is what folks believe does the work, and the rain washes the smell away. And here is my honest closing on this whole method. If you have already done the habitat work and you just want one more layer, these recipes are cheap to try and they do no harm. But if you skip the real work and lean on these alone, you are going to be disappointed. And I would rather tell you that now than have you find it out the hard way. Group 4. The Amish Natural Ally. One method, and it is real 200-year-old Pennsylvania Dutch tradition. Method 10. Keep barn cats for natural rodent control. This is the method my grandfather knew and used his whole life long, and it is the method most of the English have plumb forgotten. A pair of working barn cats on a property keeps the rodent population down near zero. And no mice, no rats, no voles, no chipmunks means no snakes coming to hunt them. This is the foundation under the whole plain way of farming, and it has worked for 200 years. The rules of barn cats, plain. They are outdoor working cats, not house pets. They hunt because hunting is their job and their joy. Keep 2 at the least, because a lone cat is a poorer hunter than a pair. Feed them light. A well-fed cat still hunts. It is instinct and not just hunger. But an overstuffed cat gets lazy at it. Get them vaccinated and get them spayed or neutered to keep them healthy and to keep the colony from growing past what your land can carry. Give them a little shelter, a wooden box with straw in it against the weather. And get them young, 8 to 12 weeks, or get already working cats from a neighbor farmer, the shelter, or the local plain community, so they learn to call your place home. The honest math on barn cats. $200 to $400 in vet costs up front per cat, about $200 a year to feed one. And the benefit: 0 rodent damage, 0 snakes coming to the porch to hunt, 0 pest control bills. On most any rural place, the cats pay for themselves inside the first year and keep paying year after year for 10, 15 years apiece. Now the honest scope, because barn cats are not for every household. If you live in town with no shelter for them, if your neighbors run outdoor dogs that would kill them, or if you cannot commit to feeding and vet care for the whole life of the animal, then this one is not for you. And that is all right. But for any rural place of an acre or more, the barn cat is the single most effective long-term snake management there is. And mind this, it is the one method nobody can sell you in a bottle, which is exactly why it is the one that works best. My grandfather always said a black snake in the barn is worth 2 cats, and he was not wrong about that either, which brings me to the part I will not skip. Now I want to tell you about a neighbor of mine, an English fellow down the road, because his story is the whole of this video in one piece. He had Copperhead showing up by his back step 2 summers running, and he was paying that $450 call every time, and he was buying the granules from the garden center by the case, and still they came. So he came and asked me, and I did not give him a bottle. I walked his yard with him. He had a wood pile snug against the foundation, knee-high grass along the whole back fence, a brush pile he had been meaning to burn since the year before, and a bird feeder hung not 8 feet off the porch with the seed husks ankle-deep underneath it. We spent one Saturday. Moved the wood, mowed the edges, hauled off the brush pile, moved the feeder out by the garden with a tray under it, and he got himself 2 barn cats from a farmer over the line. He called me near the end of that summer. He said he had not seen a single copperhead since June, and he said his wife let the grandchildren play in the yard again for the first time in 2 years. He did not spend another dollar on a bottle or a call. That is what the work does. Now the safety word plainly, because this matters more than anything else I have said. I am not going to close this video without giving you the safety word straight. Most snakes in America are not venomous. Most of them are good and harmless, and I will get to those in a moment. But the venomous ones fall into 4 families, and you should know them. The copperhead, brown with those hourglass bands, and the triangle head, common across the eastern and central states, and the very one that started us off today. The rattlesnakes, many kinds, all with the rattle on the tail, found across most of the country. The cottonmouth, also called the water moccasin, dark brown to near black, usually near water down in the southeast. And the coral snake, with its red and yellow and black bands down in the deep southeast in Arizona. Now here is the honest rule, and I want you to hear it plain. If you find a venomous snake on your property, do not try to handle it yourself. Do not try to kill it. Snake bites send 7,000 to 8,000 Americans to the emergency room every single year, and most of those bites happen when a person tries to kill or catch the snake instead of backing away. So back away. Keep the children and the pets well back from it. And call your local animal control, a professional wildlife removal service, or your state wildlife agency. A removal call running $150 to $500 is a small fraction of what an emergency room visit costs. And if a snake gets into the house itself, that is the time to call a professional and let the professional handle it. Do not corner it in your own kitchen. If somebody is bitten, keep them calm and still. Keep the bitten limb low and quiet. Get the rings and the watch off before the swelling starts. Do not cut it. Do not try to suck the venom out. Do not pack it in ice and get to the emergency room right away. Plain and quick. And now a word on telling the copperhead from the harmless snakes, because this matters and folks get it wrong both ways. The copperhead has those clear hourglass bands, wide on the sides and narrow across the back, the shape of a dumbbell or a saddle, and a coppery head, and a thick body for its length. Now, plenty of harmless snakes get killed every year because somebody saw a brown snake and panicked. The young black rat snake has a blotchy pattern and gets mistaken for a copperhead all the time, and so does the harmless milk snake and the common water snake. The plain truth is this: if you are not certain, you do not need to be certain, because the rule is the same either way. You leave it be. You keep the children back, and if it is somewhere it cannot stay, you call a professional to tell you what it is and move it. You do not have to be a snake expert. You only have to keep your hands off it and your distance. Now the snakes you should welcome and be glad of, because most of them are friends, not enemies, and they are doing the very job we have been talking about this whole time. The king snake actually hunts and eats other snakes, including copperheads and rattlesnakes, so a king snake on your land is a free guard. The garter snake eats slugs, snails, and small rodents and is harmless to you. The black rat snake is among the very best rodent hunters in all of nature, and it is completely non-venomous. The green snake eats insects and is a gardener's friend. Learn to know these by sight, because a man who kills the black snake in his barn out of fear has just thrown away his best mouser and opened the door right back up to the very thing he was afraid of. They are friends. Let them work. Now I want to take a moment, because here is where it all comes together. Look at what we have walked through. 10 methods to keep the venomous snakes away from your family, every one of them honest. 7 habitat methods backed by the University Extension offices and the National Pesticide Information Center. 1 real barrier for the one spot you cannot tolerate a snake. 1 folk method scoped honest, the good and the limit of it both, and the barn cat tradition that has kept Plain Farms snake managed for 200 years. And I will tell you plain on the scope of all of it, because honesty is the whole point. You cannot make your land 100% snake-proof. No man can. There is no such thing. What you can do is make your land unwelcoming, so that the odds drop hard, and the snake that would have stayed moves along instead. And not every snake out there is out to harm you. Most of them are good for the farm, working the rodents day and night for free, and the goal was never to wipe out every snake. The goal is to keep the venomous ones away from the porch where the children play, and that you can surely do. And here's the honest math, so let me lay it out plain. A single snake removal call runs $150 to $500, and it does not last, because it does not touch why the snake came. A copperhead bite in the emergency room can run $20,000 to $200,000 by the time you count the antivenom and the hospital stay. And against all of that, here is the other column. 1 Saturday of yard cleanup. 1 batch of steel wool and a can of expanding foam, a pair of barn cats. And the plain habit of keeping the grass short and the trash shut and the woodpile moved off. For most households, the whole investment is under $200, and it takes away the very conditions that bring the snake in the first place. And now the hard turn, and I want to say it careful and true. There is no money in the wildlife removal industry in teaching you why the snake came. There is no money in telling you to mow your grass and move your woodpile and seal a gap with a handful of steel wool. There is a great deal of money in a $450 call that has to come back when the next snake shows up. And there is a great deal of money in selling families $15 bottles of useless granules every spring and every summer, forever, season after season, for a thing that the extension offices have already put in writing does not work. So the simple old methods that do work sit quiet in plain farmhouses and in university extension papers that nobody reads. While good families spend hundreds of dollars a year on bottles of nothing. Now, I will not call that a conspiracy, because a conspiracy needs men in a room agreeing to fool you, and that is not what this is. It is worse than that, and stranger. It is a thing nobody had to sit down and arrange. The repeat call earns its living off you, not knowing. The bright bottle has money behind it to put it on the shelf at eye level, and the plain Saturday of yard work has no money behind it at all, so nobody pays to teach it to you. That is not a conspiracy. That is just who has a reason to teach you and who does not. And you can be the one who never paid. So here is what I want you to do this week. This Saturday, walk your whole yard with a hard and honest eye. Look for the debris piles, the firewood stacked against the house, the shrubs hanging to the ground, the gaps in the foundation, the trash cans without tight lids, the bird feeder too close to the porch, the pet food bowl left out overnight. Make yourself a list. That is your habitat audit, and it is the whole job in a sheet of paper. Then this week, start working the list. Mow the grass under 3 inches, edges and all. Move the wood pile 20 feet off onto a raised rack. Clear the debris piles. Seal the foundation gaps with steel wool and foam. Put a seal on the bottom of the garage door. This month, finish the bigger work. Prune the shrubs 12 inches up and 24 back. Move the feeders 30 feet off with catch trays. Work the rodent population down with snap traps along the walls or the baking soda bait from the earlier video. And this season, if your place allows it, give real thought to a pair of barn cats, because no single thing pays back more on a rural property over the years. Tell me in the comments below, have you ever had a venomous snake show up close to the house? And which of these 10 methods are you going to start with first? And tell me what county you live in and how old your house is, because the old houses with the fieldstone foundations are a different job than the new ones, and it helps me answer you right. And if your grandparents or your great-grandparents had their own way of keeping the snakes off, the wood ash circle around the chicken coop, the goose patrol in the dooryard, the family barn cat passed down across the generations, share that family memory below. The little inherited methods are exactly the kind of knowledge that gets lost forever when nobody writes it down. And the comments on this video are how we save them. I read every single one. And next time, since today we covered keeping the snakes out of the yard, the natural next step walks you through the old Amish way to keep the mice and the rats out of your pantry for good. Same principle, different door. The very rodents that bring the snakes into your yard are the same rodents that get into your pantry and ruin your grain stores, and the methods that stop the both of them are connected, and the savings compound year after year. Subscribe so you do not miss it. Until then, cut the grass, clear the clutter, seal the foundation, secure the trash, prune the shrubs, move the feeders, and bring down the rodents. And remember that the same careful habits that kept my great-great-grandfather's farmstead snake managed when he first stepped off the boat work just as well today on a half-acre lot in town. That is how the careful old folks kept their families safe, without filling the yard with plastic bottles of chemicals that do not work. And that is how it is still done in any farm or home that remembers. The Lord bless you and keep you, and I will see you next time, if we are spared and willing.